Join me as we confront the tough questions, shatter the illusions, and expose the unvarnished reality that lies beneath the surface.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, The Unspoken Truth. I'm your host, and today we're exploring a story that has gripped the nation, a tale of power, deception, and a family's tragic downfall. We'll be discussing the Murdaugh family murders, a case that has not only shocked the small town of Islandton, South Carolina, but also captured the attention of people across the country. Picture a quiet, close-knit community where everyone knows each other, where families have deep roots and long-standing traditions. Islandton is one such place, a sleepy town nestled in the South Carolina Lowcountry. At the heart of this community stood the Murdaugh family, a legal dynasty that had held significant influence for over a century. The Murdaughs were more than just a prominent family. They were an institution, with generations serving as solicitors, the regional equivalent of district attorneys, shaping the very fabric of the local judicial system. Our story begins long before the tragic events of June 2021. To understand the gravity of what unfolded, we must first comprehend the Murdaugh family's legacy. The patriarch, Alex Murdaugh, was a well-respected attorney, following in the footsteps of his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. The family's law firm was synonymous with power and authority in the region. As the writer William Faulkner once observed, "The past is never dead, it's not even past." This sentiment rings true as we examine how the family's history set the stage for the dramatic events that would later occur. In February 2019, a boating accident would become a dark harbinger of things to come. Paul Murdaugh, Alex's youngest son, was involved in a fatal crash that resulted in the death of 19-year-old Mallory Beach. The incident raised questions about privilege and accountability. Many in the community whispered about the family's ability to evade justice, and the cracks in the Murdaugh's veneer of respectability began to show. Fast forward to the evening of June 7th, 2021. Authorities received a frantic Alex Murdaugh, claiming he had discovered the bodies of his wife Maggie and son Paul at their sprawling hunting lodge estate known as Moselle. Both had been brutally shot, and the grisly scene left investigators searching for answers in a case that seemed both shocking and perplexing. As the investigation unfolded, a web of secrets began to unravel. Journalists and law enforcement officials started to piece together a puzzle that suggested all was not as it seemed within the Murdaugh family. Reports emerged of financial improprieties, including allegations that Alex had been embezzling funds from his own law firm and clients. The once respected attorney was now under scrutiny, facing accusations that threatened to destroy his reputation. One of the most confounding aspects of this case was the revelation that Alex Murdaugh had reportedly arranged for his own shooting in September 2021. He survived a gunshot wound to the head, which he initially claimed was the result of a drive-by shooting. However, investigators later alleged that Alex had conspired with a former client to stage his own death so that his surviving son, Buster, could collect a life insurance payout. This bizarre twist added another layer of intrigue and suspicion. The question on everyone's mind was, what could drive a man to such desperate measures? Motivations are often complex, but in Alex's case, it appeared that a combination of financial ruin, fear of exposure, and the collapse of his family's legacy played significant roles. As the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm upset that from now on, I can't believe you." Trust had been irrevocably broken, not just within the family, but also between Alex and the community that once held him in high esteem. During the investigation, key pieces of evidence began to surface. Forensic experts analyzed cell phone records and surveillance footage placed Alex at the scene around the time of the murders, contradicting his initial alibi. Financial records revealed the extent of his embezzlement, estimated to be in the millions of dollars. Witnesses testified about his erratic behavior and possible motives, including mounting debts and legal pressures stemming from the boat accident involving Paul. The trial of Alex Murdaugh became a media spectacle, drawing national attention. Courtrooms were packed, and every revelation was dissected by legal analysts and armchair detectives alike. Prosecutors painted a picture of a man unraveling under the weight of his own misdeeds, willing to commit the unthinkable to preserve whatever remained of his empire. Defense attorneys argued that Alex was a grieving husband and father, scapegoated by a community eager for answers. One of the most pivotal moments in the trial was the testimony of a housekeeper who recounted conversations with Alex about his strained relationships and financial woes. Additionally, ballistics experts linked the weapons used in the murders to firearms owned by the Murdaugh family. The accumulation of evidence became overwhelming. In March 2022, after a grueling trial that lasted weeks, the jury reached a verdict. Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of the murders of his wife Maggie and his son Paul. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was filled with a mix of relief and sorrow. A once powerful man had been brought to justice, but the community grappled with the tragic loss and the betrayal by someone they thought they knew. This case is more than a sensational story. It's a cautionary tale about the corrupting influence of power and the lengths to which individuals might go to protect themselves. It forces us to consider the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. The Murdaugh saga has prompted discussions about privilege, accountability, and the importance of transparency in positions of authority. Moreover, the ripple effects of this tragedy have led to re-examinations of other cases connected to the Murdaugh family. The death of 19-year-old Stephen Smith in Murdaugh Country, South Carolina, has been a lingering mystery since 2015. Initially ruled as a hit-and-run accident by the medical examiner, Smith's mother, Sandy Smith, never accepted this explanation, convinced that her son's death was no accident. Her suspicions were fueled by the lack of evidence typically associated with a hit-and-run, such as vehicle debris, broken headlights, or paint scrapes. The case remained dormant until the murders of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, the wife and son of disgraced attorney Alex Murdaugh, brought it back into the spotlight. The connection between the two cases isn't immediately clear, but the renewed interest in Stephen Smith's death has raised hopes that justice might finally be served. For instance, the suspicious death of their longtime housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield, in 2018 was reopened for investigation. Questions were raised about whether her death was truly accidental and whether settlement funds meant for her family were misappropriated by Alex. These developments highlight a pattern of alleged exploitation and deceit. As we reflect on these events, it's essential to acknowledge the profound sadness at their core. Lives were lost, families were shattered, and a community was left to pick up the pieces. Stories like this compel us to look inward, to evaluate the systems in place that allow for such abuses of power, and to advocate for justice and integrity. In conclusion, the Murdaugh family murders serve as a stark reminder that beneath the surface of even the most esteemed families, darkness can lurk. It's a narrative that echoes themes found in classic tragedies, where hubris leads to downfall. The lessons learned here are not just about one family or one town, but about the human condition and the societal structures that can enable misconduct. Thank you for joining me on this journey through a complex and haunting story. Your engagement and curiosity are what make these discussions meaningful. If you found today's episode insightful, I encourage you to subscribe to the Unspoken Truth so you won't miss future explorations into stories that shape our world. Feel free to connect with us on social media, share your thoughts, or suggest topics you'd like us to cover in upcoming episodes. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.
The Unspoken Truth. You're about to enter a space where the uncomfortable becomes the uncomfortable truth. The unspoken truth is not for the faint of heart. Join me as we confront the tough questions, shatter the illusions, and expose the unvarnished reality that lies beneath the surface.